Welcome to the DesignCast, where we talk about all things design, and today we're going to be talking about NFTs. Hello, so I'm Stephen Underwood, a student graphic designer and photographer from the UK. Every Friday we will bring you the latest news in the design world, answer your questions and even interview designers and the like right here. Or you can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, or watch us on our YouTube channel, the DesignCast Podcast. So just a little bit of information before we get started. One on interviewing guests. I so far haven't tracked down or contacted any designers or anyone to bring onto the podcast, but I am looking into it and I would love your input. So if you're watching and you would love to be in an episode of the DesignCast, send us an email, thedesignCastpodcast@gmail.com, or you can message me on Instagram at stevie.graphics, and I'll see if we can slot you in. So that's basically that. And the other thing I wanted to say is, if you have been following along the podcast or me on my Instagram, you will know that fairly soon I'm going to be moving house. This poses a few problems for this podcast and the YouTube channel that I run, Stephen Underwood. But of course, a podcast you could do a little bit easier and not have this fancy setup like I have here. But I decided that just to allow me time to pack, to move things, and to unpack at the other end, because doing all the packing is going to take up a lot of time and quite a lot of resources, sort of my own time and own sort of effort and power, I guess. I don't know where I'm going with this. But long and short of it is, for the next sort of couple of months, this is going to basically be the last episode of podcast for a little while now. And also on my YouTube, if you notice, I have started to roll it back a little bit. So for the next sort of couple of months, maybe things are going to be very quiet. I will try to keep updated on my Instagram and bring you along for the ride. And of course, while I'm unpacking the other end, I got to set up equipment, lighting, green screen, everything like that, microphone. That's just for the podcast, not even my YouTube channel. So I'm doing a full sort of restart in a couple of months' time, where everything will sort of come back together. So don't think I won't be here, because I will. I would have just sort of disappeared for a little bit. So if things start getting quiet, don't panic, I'm still here. So basically there won't be a podcast after today for a couple more months, but I'll try and keep you in the loop. So today we are looking at a very controversial topic of NFTs. Now, I am fairly passionate about NFTs, but maybe not in the way you'd expect. So NFTs are a cryptographic record of ownership for a unique item that is encoded into a blockchain. That is the Google definition. And I don't really understand crypto or blockchains, to be honest, if I'm being frankly honest with you. So it's probably a bad topic to choose, but I just wanted to put my opinion out there and have a talk about it today, because that's what this podcast is about. So, from my understanding, I could be wrong with this, so if you're going to hammer me in the comments or completely slam me, go ahead, because I'm probably wrong with this. But from my understanding of NFTs, they are tokens or ways of exchanging digital goods. Yes, I have done a little bit of research on this. A way of exchanging and selling digital goods, more often than not, seems to be artwork or design work, to gain ownership of that digital good. So I guess it's a bit like you, if you decided you saw a nice painting in an art gallery and you decide to buy it. I guess it's a bit like that, but it's digital and it's linked into crypto. I don't fully understand it, but what I am here that I do understand is that NFTs are a very controversial topic, and there is sort of a split side in sort of how you can agree or disagree with it, if that makes sense. So I know there's a lot of designers and artists, because NFTs seem to generally be focused around the art community. Not that they were intended for that, from my understanding, but I think a lot of people seem to be artists or designers who take part in NFT community. But the thing is, there's designers that agree with NFTs and love making them, make crypto on them or money, however it works. And then there's other designers and artists that don't, and I'm one of those. because I have one problem with NFTs, and I know I'm not the only one that shares this concern. It's actually taking away that sort of opportunity for sort of a bit like I can't remember what our podcast was about last week, but very similar sort of idea of taking away that creativity and uniqueness. So you make a design and someone buys the ownership. Now, from my understanding, I don't think that ownership is like 100% full ownership. I could be wrong on that, but I believe it's some sort of ownership. I don't think it covers like the original ownership or copyright and things like that. But what I'm trying to say is it takes away that sort of element of sort of, I guess, life within a creative piece. So I always think, selling designs just out there with sort of no sort of meaning, if you know what I mean. And let me phrase this better. Sort of selling designs and art is fine, I accept that. But when it comes to, I guess it almost feels a bit like a competition to me. With sort of NFTs, it's like people trying to build up a crypto wallet, who can get the most crypto, then you can spend it on this and that. I just feel it's almost a bit of a competition. So I'm not really going into the crypto side in the podcast, but I think what I'm trying to say is, with the fact of it bringing in the art community, is that sort of creates more competition, if that makes sense. I don't know if that's quite the right word I'm trying to think of, but sort of almost almost sort of creates a sort of barrier, especially to newer artists or designers who are starting out, thinking, oh my, I need to get to that standard so I can make an NFT or sell an NFT and I can make loads of crypto. It's not necessarily like that. And I know it's like that in a lot of things in life. It's sort of the hierarchy and think, I need to be better than this person, that person. Or if you're on social media, it's sort of like a trap, all these influencers, so then you get people saying, oh, they look beautiful, they're using filters. It's that sort of continuous cycle of sort of competition and challenging others, and then sort of the self-esteem of others sort of being lower and more deprived, which I think, especially with art, is one of those things that shouldn't happen, because I know art and design is sometimes a place or a safe haven for people to get away from those worries. People draw, paint, create pieces of art to feel better about life or themselves, or forget about their worries. But I think when it comes to NFTs, it's almost like a challenge. It's a bit like a competition. There's always pressure. So you buy an NFT, you've made so much, you're part of the blockchain, or however it works. I just think it's very dangerous in that respect, that it can sort of take over someone's sort of design, I guess. Oh, it's like, I own this design, so I'm better than you, or you own that design, that one sold for more crypto, so I own a better design than you. It sort of creates competition. Or the designer itself, I guess, might be sort of like, oh, my design's now been stolen or shared, or sort of, I don't think people respect the designers and artists enough. And I know it's a big problem within the art community anyway, which is going to be coming in another podcast eventually. Just the art community, I think, especially regarding NFTs, really struggle, because that respect and sort of claim to fame, should I say, sort of just gets whittled away, and the designer and artist don't really get much back apart from crypto. And it goes back to the idea of sort of competition, and I'm better than someone else. I wouldn't say it's exactly like that, but I think that is part of the problem with NFTs. But changing subject slightly, still on NFTs, sort of, there is a person that I follow on the internet called The Real Sully G. They do like music videos on their YouTube channel. You can go check them out. And they've done loads of things, but one of their most recent projects, and it's a little bit of fun, is EFT. Now I can't quite remember what it stands for. Something token. Anyway, EFT. In other words, it's an anti-NFT campaign, which I actually support, because the designers, as part of the EFT, have been able to get more respect and understanding, and also the fact that these EFTs are freely accessible. No crypto, no money. You can just, sorry about that, no crypto, no money. You can just take them for free, but the artist gets more of that recognition and respect, which I guess some people are now going to be screaming at their phone, listening to this podcast or watching me on YouTube and saying, no, that creates even more of a problem. And yes, I know what you're saying. Taking designs for free is also a bad thing. I get that, and that's also another thing for another podcast. But the issue is, surely you would prefer more recognition so people can hire you or look at your other works and buy other pieces of work, rather than sort of losing that respect and recognition through selling your work as an NFT. And also the fact that you have to have more stuff there anyway, to sort of build up that NFT catalogue. So I am going to leave it here today. So thank you for tuning in, and don't forget you can visit our website at thedesigncastpodcast.com, and also send in your questions to be answered at thedesigncastpodcast@gmail.com. So thank you for listening or watching, and I'll see you in the next one.